5, 4, 3. Hi, everybody. Dugroz here with Dugroz Reports. Welcome to my Saturday morning live stream. Today is Saturday, December the 28th, 2024, and I am reporting live from my house. How are each and every one of you doing this morning? Got a little bit of a new setup here this morning, just a minor tweak. I have upgraded my microphone, so you might notice it looks a little different. If I bring it fully into the screen, it's kind of like that. This is a microphone I got for Christmas. Let me know if you can hear me okay with it. I realize the levels might not be perfected, but hopefully you can at least hear me. That's the most important part. If you hadn't, someone probably would have said so by now. So let's go ahead and see who's on board here this morning. We got Sam K over in the United Kingdom. How are you doing, Sam? Glad to see you this morning. And Chad Pennycuff coming in strong right away with a super chat of $10.02. A big time Dugroz diehard. Thank you, Chad. Celebrate. Chad says, Happy New Year, everybody. I got one upped by a penny last week. On guard. Okay, yeah, last week he gave $10 to start with. Somebody else came in and gave $10.01. So he's starting off with $10.02 this morning, which is excellent. Allie is here. Hi, Allie. James says, "Was up?" I accidentally says "hotten" in 1 minute, and Sam said "hotten." It was just supposed to say "hot" in 1 minute, like we're starting the live stream in 1 minute. And TH is here. How you doing, TH? Loud and clear. Thank you for everyone who's here and following along. We got 20 people on board. If you'd be kind enough to click the thumbs up button, I would appreciate it. That way more people will be driven into the live stream. We're also joined by Matt Clausen, a big time Dugroz diehard. Thank you, Matt, for being here. And the theme of the day today is my dream travel credit card. And Matt Clausen himself gets partial credit for inspiration here for two reasons. One is I had a members only live stream last night and he talked it over with me, but also I was watching his recent video on sort of a wish list for Wells Fargo next year. And at the very end, he talked about some things that he would like to see happen. And I thought, I'm going to do that as well, but I'm not going to limit it to Wells Fargo. I'm going to just make it my dream card overall. What would I make if I could just make a credit card? And we'll come back to that a little bit. That's the theme of the day today. But first, you know how we always start. Well, actually, before first, I need to say Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope you had a great Christmas on Wednesday of this week. And I hope you have a good New Year coming up in the very near future. All right, so now I'm going to present. I'm going to share my screen. I've just got to click a few buttons here. Thanks for bearing with me. And there we are. So, okay, what am I sharing here? You might remember 5 or 6 days ago on the community tab, I posted about an IHG offer to lock in Diamond Elite status in the next year. And what you have to do is buy $800. Now, first of all, this is if you're targeted. Not everyone is targeted. Oh, better pause for a moment and mention that Allie came in strong with a $1.99 super chat. Thanks, Allie. Appreciate that. Celebrate. Thanks for all the info and fun times. Glad we can have a little bit of fun here on the program. So what you have to do to get this IHG promotion is you have to buy whatever their maximum number of points is you can normally buy at one time. And the rate's not quite as good as always. I don't remember exactly what it comes out to. But in my case, I have to buy $200 more than what it would usually cost. So if I was buying at half a cent per point, it would cost $600. This time it's costing $800. So I'm trying to decide, is it basically worth spending $200 to buy into Diamond Elite status? Now, I already have the IHG business credit card, so I have platinum status, which is their second highest status. The downside there is that platinum status does not get you free breakfast guaranteed at all IHG properties. I've had it a few times because like a Holiday Inn has, just said, oh, close enough. We'll give you a welcome amenity of a breakfast voucher. Chad says, great first super chat, Allie. Dugroz was mine too. Thanks, Allie and Chad. I appreciate that. But there's a little more information that's made this just a touch more interesting. Now, I haven't actually done it. I haven't committed. I have to make the decision by the end of the year. So let me know in the comments what you would do. But here's the additional piece of information. Hat tip to frequent miler here. Um, at least one person got a statement credit. So there was a little bit of a blunder here where IHG initially launched this opportunity for instead of spending $800, you only had to spend 640, which would effectively be buying platinum status, excuse me, diamond status for 40 bucks, which was pretty good. What they say is they had at least one user who saw the cost increase from 640 to 800, bought the points anyway, and within a few days got $160 credit from Chase, effectively taking the cost down to 640. She never even asked for it. So I think the bottom line is if you do go for this, send Chase a private message afterwards and say something like, hey, when the offer first posted, it was $600, 640. I've spent 800. Could you credit me the difference between the two? Just a thought for what you could do in regard to that. Now, as I push through here on making my decision, excuse me, I got to hork my nose a little bit. You know how I am in the mornings. Starting to get some of that morning nasaliness here going on. I'm going to try my brand new soundboard mute button. Thank you to my anonymous donor who got me this soundboard. Just pay the shipping. One moment. Okay. Hopefully my first test of the mute button worked successfully. Let me know if you heard my nose blow or if it was successfully muted. I would appreciate that. Tim McDonald has showed up. Good to see you, Tim. San Francisco 49ers fan, I see. I don't think we've spoken before, Tim. Super glad to have you on board. And as a relatively new 49ers fan, because I'm mostly a Brock Purdy fan, I hope they do well and recover a little bit. They're having a rough year so far. Mute worked. Thanks, Liam. Appreciate that. How are you doing this morning? Good to see you. Let's continue the drama here. Drama's not the right word. So, as you know, I'm scheduling a trip into the United Kingdom and then hanging out in somewhere in Europe this coming summer with the family. So I did some exploring to see, would this be worthwhile, this IHG thing, points purchase? Our family likes mid-level hotels. So and a Holiday Inn Express would be lower than what we would prefer because I like to be able to go to the restaurant in the hotel for both lunch and supper, not just breakfast. Free breakfast is nice, but hopefully I can status up to get that free breakfast if I do this diamond thing. And Intercontinental's probably a little too fancy. Mr. Roz doesn't feel super comfortable with that. All the rich people walking around judging us. Mrs. Dugroz sometimes feels a little uncomfortable when our boys are very uncouth and loud and those kind of things. So that nice middle range, like a Holiday Inn or Staybridge Suites, is good for us. I don't know if Staybridge Suites has restaurants. Some do, some don't. But like a DoubleTree or an Embassy Suites would be a Hilton analogy. Here is a Holiday Inn in Edinburgh, Scotland. We're looking at Edinburgh. That's a really cool town we'd like to visit. And it says right there, $1,423. But the problem I'm finding is all the IHGs that fit this middle-ish range, which is mostly Holiday Inns, are either poorly reviewed or they're outside of the city center. So it's not really working out. Hey, here's someone who knows a lot about the UK. Sam dropped 5 pounds. Boom. Celebrate. Thanks for the live chat, Sam. You are my favorite visitor outside the United Kingdom. For added hotel security at night times, reverse use a doorstep to keep the door closed. This goes towards coffee. Good tip, Sam. I will look into getting something along those lines. And Juan Garcia has arrived. Good morning. How you doing, Juan? Let's see. Where were we? Liam says he doesn't normally get to see the live stream because of soccer, but none on today, so gets to watch. Glad you could join in. So I'm leaning away from IHG. I found a Hampton by Hilton in Glasgow. It's hard to get into downtown Edinburgh. That's a little more desirable than Glasgow is. Uh, that's how it seems to me. Did I accidentally say outside of the UK? I meant outside of the US. Ooh, I've had travel on my brain. Lol. Thanks, Sam. My bad. Yes, you're my favorite viewer outside the United States. Not that I have a whole lot. If any of you are outside the US other than Sam, please let me know. I'd love to hear that. So I'm not going to get a hotel restaurant inside a Hampton Inn, but there are some things I like guaranteed connecting rooms. The location's really good. 1,336 pounds. If you're wondering, that comes out to 1,673 US dollars. And that I'm gonna grab my calculator here, and we're gonna see how much that is in terms of cents per point. This is only 3 nights, so I'm not getting fifth night free. 1,673. Divide that into 238,000 points. Now, bear in mind, this is 3 nights, 2 rooms, and that comes to just over 7 cents per point. This is what I would consider very standard for Hilton. You can buy in at half cent per point, and in a very generic sense, not taking fifth night free in consideration, 7/10 of a cent seems pretty standard. That's basically what it's coming out to. So what do you think? Would you take the slightly rundown Holiday Inn on the edge of Edinburgh, or would you take the Hampton Inn in the middle of Glasgow, a better location? And I don't have to spend the extra to buy the points. With Hilton, I already have the points. Obviously, I can cancel this. It's all on points, so free cancellation up until a few days before. So that's the first topic, is sort of the IHG. Am I going to buy points? Am I not going to buy points? I think I'm probably not going to. I just don't think I'm going to get enough use out of it. Filmo has arrived. How you doing, Filmo? Hey, everyone. Feeling pretty sick today, but here for the math and in case the Golden Ponies cards show up. Well, I don't want to give any spoilers, but I think you might be pleased today, Filmo. Sorry to hear that you're sick. That's a bummer. Chad Pennycuff says, we need a UK meetup to have some bangers and mash or fish and chips with Sam. We absolutely do. I guess I could have a mini meetup, just me and Sam, summer of next year. Some people saying hi to each other. Says, I must rain on this idea. I don't own a car or have a license. Public transit. Location is most important, says Jacob. How you doing, Jacob? Glad to see you on board. A big-time Dugroz diehard. Yeah, a lot of times I'm finding the best hotels in terms of value are let me use an example that I can think of here. So you know how hotels, some of the chains are notorious for naming their hotel after a nearby big city, but it's not actually in the city? Come to the Holiday Inn Chicago Elgin. It's actually in the town of Elgin, which is 45 minutes outside of downtown Chicago, and there's no public transit nearby or something like that. I've seen a couple beautiful hotels, both Hilton and IHG, and even maybe a Wyndham or two or a Choice Hotel, but they're come to the lovely St. Julius Magarnaghy, conveniently located just 30 miles north of the big city. It's easy to get to transit. You just have to walk 30 minutes to the nearest bus station. Hey, Filmo will be in London this summer as well. Wouldn't it be cool if we're there at the exact same time? Although I'm not going to London, just the United Kingdom in general. So let me know how far afield you're wandering. Maybe we can call each other from our SIM cards on our British phones and be like, hello, governor, how's it going? That would be stupid, but we could do it anyway. All right, moving on with the Dugroz diehards. So we've got the HighVe parade of awesome gift cards continuing. I know this is niche and only applies to a few people, but if you happen to be in the Midwest and live close to a HighVe, they have extended their offer of $10 off a Visa or MasterCard of $150 or more, and it's still working in increments. So if you get a $450 Visa or MasterCard gift card, you actually get $30 off. This has been very lucrative for me. I've done this at least 6 times and gotten $30 off. So that's $180 just since like October. I don't know why they keep just throwing money at us, but they do. If you think about it this way, let's just say the fee is $7. It's usually like $6.95 for the purchase fee. I'll round that up to $7. That's $23. And if I buy a $450 gift card, that means just from the built-in discount alone, I'm getting 5.1%. So basically, it's 5% cash back on top of whatever you're getting with points and miles. So if you're getting a, let's say, 3% cash back card, you're effectively walking away with new with 8% cash back. Andrew is here. How you doing, Andrew Beach? Oh my, did Dugroz get a new microphone? I did. Is it sounding okay? Better, worse, about the same? The main thing is it needs to function. It's on one of those, is gimbal the right term? Gimbal arms, so I can swing it in. I can swing it out. The nice thing is, like, when I go to work, I can just put it over there. I don't know if you can hear me right now, but I can just put it away when I'm not using it. Chad says, I need to figure out a way to sneak over to Disneyland Paris next year, complete my visit to all 14 Disney parks in a year challenge. In a year? Ooh, I thought you meant ever. That would be hard. Avoid Weatherspoons. It's microwave meals. Tucking that away. Thank you, Sam. Chad Pennycuff is my Disney hero, says Filmo. And Jacob Hess says, HighVe's in my area added additional signage indicating gift cards cash only. Boo. Boo. Well, here in the greater Des Moines area, you find a mixture. Some only allow cash, some allow cash and debit cards, some allow any form of payment, including credit card. Fortunately, I have, through careful analysis and testing, found 2 or 3, 4, if you count the pharmacies, the HighVe drugstores, that will allow credit cards. Liam has heard interesting stories about Weatherspoons. Okay, I will note that. Let's talk about gas a little more. The kind that goes in vehicles, if you're wondering. I was pretty proud of myself. So in my gift card buying, I stumbled across one specific Visa gift card that the local store had forgot to code properly. And it didn't charge an activation fee, so no $7 fee. And unlike all the other Visas and MasterCards, it counted towards HighVe Fuel Saver. So what you're seeing on the screen there is actually the price per gallon, 2.9 cents that I got it down to. I'm pretty proud of this. I've got the receipt here to prove it. Of course, you can't see it, so you'll have to take my word for it. Fortunately, I did grab a screenshot when I was all done, though, and there was my total. I paid 44 cents for over 15 gallons of gas. So I thought that was reason to celebrate. That opportunity was open for about 6 to 10 days. I may have personally ruined it for everyone else. So if you go to one specific HighVe in the Des Moines area and that was ruined, I apologize. But a couple days ago, they fixed it. It's charging the fee. It's not counting towards Fuel Saver, unfortunately. But I did score big time briefly. Sam K is dropped another £2 super chat. Celebrate. Thank you, Sam, for not trying to do a Dick Van Dyke Brit accent. LOL. I'm sure my accent is terrible, but thanks for bearing with me. Dick Van Dyke as Bert in Mary Poppins, though, at one time was a very, very popular movie in my household. When my boys were about 2 years old, they would dance around and sing Step in Time. Bump ba dun dun, step in time. Bump ba dun 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 dun. Never read a reason, never need a rhyme. Bump ba dun, step in time. And yes, his accent does kind of come and go throughout the movie. Dugroz filling up at 1950s prices, says Filmo. Thanks, Filmo. Hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. Drives more people in to watch this. We're up to 48 people. We briefly cleared 50. And this was written on one of the fuel dispensers. I don't know if it was the one at HighVe or somewhere else, but have you ever seen this before? It says this: minimum fueling volume 4 gallons. Dispensing less may violate federal law. Well, I don't know about you folks, but I've put in less than 4 gallons of gas many times. In fact, I've had various credit cards or debit cards. Usually it's a debit card, like on a bank account bonus, where you have to make a certain number of purchases, not necessarily a certain amount. Where I've put in like $1 of gas. So I've definitely filled up with less than 4 gallons. Are we all violating federal law? We might all end up in jail. I always have this, not always. I've occasionally had this bad dream that somehow the state of Delaware, where every single bank is chartered, passes these laws, and I break them, and I have to go to Delaware to be in jail, something like that. Liam says, my fellow Americans doing bad Cockney accents gives me the ick. I do Geordie because it's more sounds than words. I don't know what that means, but that's okay. And thanks for sharing. Chad says, best I can do is $1 off a gallon at Myers plus 10 cents a gallon savings for using Player 2's Meyer credit card. Brian Jack says, I'm a felon. I filled up my 1-gallon gas tank for my mower. Thanks, Brian. Good to see you in here. Thanks for stopping by. And Dave W. dropped a 99-cent super sticker. Thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate it. Now, since I'm using StreamYard, I can't actually see what the sticker looks like. I apologize. But if you want to drop something less than $2, that's the best way to do it. Be like Dave. He's got a real nice kitty. I like to see that picture there in the profile, and is a Dugroz diehard. Sam K reminds everyone to smash the like button to keep those recommendations showing up. Thank you, Sam. It doesn't cost you a thing to smash the like button. Let's move on here. Now, we've got the drama that's been going on. Got to snort again. I apologize. The drama of the Aeroplan credit card. What's going on with the Aeroplan card? People like Chad Pennycuff and other fans and myself know that it's just been confusing because back in October, Chase updated their thingamajig, whatever you call it, to show that you could pay yourself back through December of 2025. So here's what Aeroplan usually looks like. You'll see at the bottom of the screen here, there's 66,000 some points that we have. Yep, Chad says Aeroplan is in a love-hate with me. He knows what I'm talking about. But just somewhere around December 15th, they changed it to look like this. So now when you log in, it says pay yourself back is valid on travel, and it says the same thing for dining and others through December 31st, 2024. And we're all like, what in the world? Chase, you told us. You promised us it would work next year. So there have been a couple changes since last week. Nothing definitive, but minor changes. One of them is how the landing page on the website looks. I just noticed this, I think, maybe a day or two before Christmas, in that the wording that used to say there's no limit on how much you can pay yourself back through December 31st, 2024 is now gone. Now it just says, we've made it easy, blah, blah, blah. It's up to you how you want to redeem your Aeroplan points. Just select your eligible transactions that posted to your account within the last 90 days to redeem. So there is no language on the main landing page discussing a limit, like there's no 50,000 point limit discussed, nor is there any discussion of when it ends discussed. So this could be very good news. It could be very bad news. Depends on how you look at it. Tom Graber has dropped a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Tom. He's a big-time Dugroz diehard. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate that. That supports my channel. Anything that you drop in here in terms of super stickers or super chats goes towards my technology and equipment fund. This very microphone is called an El Gato, like Spanish for the cat. Microphone is from those super chats. So thank you for that. I say anything. Technically, I send 20% of all my YouTube earnings over to support my general family budget because that seems fair. My family has to put up with what I do here for a living, but 80%, 80 cents on the dollar of everything you donate goes towards my equipment fund. I guess now's as good a time as any to mention I did use my Dell credit to pick up some lights on Amazon. I haven't hooked these up yet. These are like lights that's just about actual size, roughly. Hook up to your computer monitors. Right now, I have some very large, like those big screen type lights that back when I used to do mattress reviews, I picked up, and they work, but they're ginormous, and my wife doesn't like vacuuming around them, and they do take up a lot of space. So happy wife, happy life, something a little more portable. I'll get those hooked up before my next live stream, at least in theory. But anyhow, back to the Aeroplan drama. This is good news, although I don't know how far we can take it. I had a community tab post earlier this week where I encouraged everyone to reach out to Aeroplan who has the card and just ask them, what is 2025 going to look like? I sent a message. Their first message back was just copying and pasting from the website. And I was like, that's not helpful. Could you please actually answer the question about 2025? I said it nicer than that. But this is the response that I got back. It says, "Ethem. Hello, Douglas." And this was on December 26th, so 2 days ago. "Thank you for contacting us. We're here to provide you with information on Aeroplan, blah, blah, blah." And she said, "For 2025, you may continue to redeem Aeroplan points for statement credits towards travel purchases like airfare, hotels, taxis, and trains made within 90 days on your Aeroplan card. For purchases of travel, each point is worth 1.25 cents. And please note that promotions are subject to change." Well, that's good news. So we have one specific representative working on the email callback team at Chase who says for 2025, you may continue to use pay yourself back at 1.25 cents per point. I would rather have them say that than saying, nope, the program's ending, it's going away. However, how much stock can you put into that? Can you say, I think this gives me 30% confidence, this gives me 60% confidence, this gives me 70% confidence? As we know, there's not like, we all know call center people who work for credit cards and banks don't know as much as we do about the points and miles game. And we're not mad at them because 99% of the people that call in just ask about fees or are angry or want to close their cards or something like that. And they're only as good as their training. So if someone doesn't train them to deal with Aeroplan's pay yourself back, they won't know. So whether or not this person actually found out the information or asked a trainer or the product team, or if they just took a guess, I don't know, but at least it's a step in the right direction. Chad Pennycuff says, "My Player 2 sub hits tonight on the Aeroplan card. We will have another $5,000 worth of DVC loans to pay off as soon as it hits. Should be $10,680 paid with UR points." So I guess since you're revealing your trick, Chad, I can mention it because obviously if you're saying it, you don't mind. Those of you like Chad who have a Disney Vacation Club, is that the right terminology? Timeshare loan, payments made towards that, or at least principal only payments, can be made with a credit card, and it does code as travel. So if you have one of those Disney timeshares, you can pay your loan off at 1.25 cents per point. If you took advantage of the current transfer bonus, that takes it up another 20%. And if you do it in increments of 50,000 or more, capped at 250 a year, 1.625. So why not pay off a loan at 1.625 cents per point? It's a lot better than cashing out at a penny each. Am I right? Sam K says, perhaps get a green screen for displaying things on. Oh, I'll consider that. Chad says, El Gato makes incredible streaming gear. Glad to hear it. Anthony Venture has arrived. How are you doing? Powerful new tech. I have Yoda's voice in my head. Powerful microphone it is. And 1.25, the mystery continues. Dave says, by the way, Doug, the anger for Citi is getting less each week. Yours or mine or both of us? I suppose mine is maybe fading a little bit. I did get my situation with Citibank's terrible customer service resolved, kind of, Although until I get the resolution in writing, they verbally told me it's resolved. They finally got my bank account closed. I'll believe it when I see it. They're supposed to be mailing me a letter in 7 to 10 business days. Sam says, if you or anyone are consistently receiving scam calls from India, just tell them the FBI are listening. They will stop. LOL. I will tuck that away. Thank you. And then continuing our thought process here, this is sort of a fusion of the two topics we've gone over so far. A rental car, since I'll be traveling next summer, that's kind of small. I'm looking at renting a car for a portion of our time in Scotland and England. This is on Hertz. And one interesting thing is these prices seem to be a little lower than I thought. $414, $497 with tax for an entire week. Now, this was not the exact one that I have locked in. I locked in one for a different time frame. It was 6 days, so just 1 day shy of a week, and right around, it was like 480 pounds, which was somewhere around $600, roughly $600. So that seems like a better price. So I don't know if anybody knows like the economics of pound sterling to US dollars. The exchange rate hasn't changed much since we were there in summer of 2023, but it does seem like some things are either staying the same, where with inflation you would have expected to go up, or in this case actually slightly cheaper, because when we were there last time, we rented a car very similar to this one, also from Hertz, and it was around that same price for 4 days, around $600 for 4 days. Now, $600 for 6 days. So it's actually a better value. And the way that ties in with everything else is that I would use my Aeroplan card to pay for that rental car and pay myself back. Boom, pay myself back. The logic there is that the Aeroplan card has a secondary car rental collision damage waiver inside your country of origin, not your country of origin, that's the wrong way of saying it, inside the country you live in. So for most of us, inside the United States. But if you're traveling, I think it's at least 100 miles from home and in a country other than your country of residence, then it becomes primary. So if I'm in the United Kingdom, I don't have to use my Sapphire Reserve or my Venture X or anything like that. I can use my Aeroplan card and still get primary collision damage waiver, and then I will just pay myself back at that 1.625. Dave W says both, I guess. Good luck with them, man. Talking about Citi. So I guess we're both, our rage is diminishing. Have you ever seen that old episode of Treehouse of Horror on The Simpsons where it's in the snow in like a cabin or something like that, and it's no beer and no TV make Homer go crazy, and at the end he's like watching TV and his rage is subsiding, and it's like rage fading, 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 rising, fading, gone. That's where Dave and I are with Citi. Our rage is slowly fading, although there are peaks and valleys. Sam says, remember in the UK, we drive on the left. Check. Checking for traffic before crossing the road will be opposite to that of the US. Double-decker buses are big up close. Absolutely. I did drive on the left in the UK last time I was there. I thought it went okay. I did briefly drive on the right in a McDonald's parking lot, not on an actual road. I like pulled out of the drive-through, or I didn't do drive-through. I pulled out of my parking spot and just instinctively went to the right side of the travel lane, not even a road, just like a lane between parking spots. And then I was, after 5 seconds, like, oops, got over to the left. Dave W likes fading, rising. Andrew Beach, did you have to look up primary CDW turns fine prints to find that information? I'm headed to Italy and Germany next year. I don't remember where I looked, Andrew. It might have been in the paper guide to benefits that I got. I am a paper nerdy person. I save all of my guides to benefits in a box up there in my closet. So I might have looked through that, or maybe it's on the website. Like if you click on one of those terms and conditions where it's got like a little asterisk and you follow the asterisk to the bottom. Fair enough regarding my driving ability. All right, one last Dugroz data point here, and then we'll transition into the main event. Amex, the Hilton Cards, the increased Welcome offers up to 175K are ending soon. Hat tip, frequent miler here. And you all know I like Hilton as my favorite restaurant. It's not my favorite restaurant, my favorite hotel. If you've had Hilton on your mind lately, like Frequent Miler has, they like it for the small hotels and resorts, SLH, small luxury hotels. I like it for Embassy Suites and Hampton Inns and double trees and that kind of stuff. But anyway, these offers are set to expire on January 8th. So if you're interested, now is the time. To be more specific, the basic no annual fee Hilton Honors Card, 100,000 points. The Hilton Surpass, 165,000 points. And the Hilton Aspire, 175,000 points. That's the current sign-up bonus. So if you're thinking of doing it, it ends on January 8th. I would actually say between January 1st and January 7th would be a good time to sign up because actually, I take that back. It's probably too late now. I was going to say you could sign up, get the card, buy a Hilton gift card if you're doing the Surpass and get it before the end of the year, but it's probably too late. You've probably waited too long. But the reason I like January is then the whole quarterly thing matches up and it's real easy to keep track of when you've used, when you haven't used the credits. Sam says, in the UK, we've got an L on our license plate for learners and A on our plates for Americans. LOL. Oh, no, we need A on our plates for Americans. I gotcha. Or really anybody who's from a country we drive on the right, which is the majority of the world. Vincent Pascal is here. How you doing, Vincent? A big-time Dugroz diehard. I hope Hilton brings the free night certificates as part of the bonus back soon. Just depends on what you're going for. I like points better, but both is good too. Dave W. says, how's your Propel Autograph card for you? Kind of shows how long I've been following your channel. Yeah. Why don't I save that for the main event? Because I am going to touch on that. What used to be the Propel and is now the autograph card. Technically, it was my dad that had the Propel, and then it automatically turned into autograph, not me. But I know what you're thinking of. I didn't get the autograph until it was the autograph. I got it shortly after launch when it had the 60,000 point offer. And as Sam reminds us, please click the like button. Filmo says I can barely drive on the right, so no CSR rental for me in the United Kingdom. Yeah, especially if you're mostly in downtown London. You don't want to be driving around. And definitely don't try to drive through downtown Oxford. That was a mistake. All right, let's transition now. Shift gears. It's time for the theme of the day. The theme of the day. I do want to go back and just make sure that I've not missed anybody who dropped a super chat. Chad Pennycuff, 1002. Ali, 199. Sam K, 5 pounds. Sam K, 2 pounds. Dave W, 99 cents. And Tom Graber, $5. Thank you to all of you folks. I appreciate that. So it's time now for the theme of the day. What is today's theme of the day? Today's theme is building my best travel card. Here we have the copyright-free version of Bob the Builder on the screen, and I am going to make my own credit card. So I'm going to take the features that I want, and this is specific to a travel card. Now, let me give a funny story here. When I was a young child, probably like 4, 5, 6 years old, I loved playing with Duplos and Legos. So I thought the job I would like to have when I grow up is the job of a bricklayer. But then I was at my grandma and grandpa's house, and they had like a house built on a hill with a walkout basement under the porch. And in that area, there was a retaining wall off to the right when you walk out, and it was damaged. It was cracked. The bricks were broken. So they hired a local bricklayer to come over and repair the wall. And this was a hefty fellow, probably in excess of 340 pounds. And when he leaned over, his crack showed really bad. So somehow, as like a 6-year-old, I thought to myself, if you're a bricklayer, your pants are always going to be falling down. So at that point forward, I decided I no longer want to be a bricklayer. There you go. Nothing to do with points and miles, but kind of fun. Let me kind of say an overview here for the sake of people that watch this later. What I'm going to do is build my own travel credit card. So I'm going to assemble bit by bit, what makes up a good travel credit card. And there's going to be various features that go into that. Now, obviously, I can't go hog wild to the point of ridiculousness. This has to be within the realm of reason. I could say, I want a card that gives 7 points per dollar on all purchases, no foreign transaction fee, and no annual fee, period. And all of us would love that card, but that's not fair. Let's not do that. Let's go ahead and dive right on in here to building my best travel card, what it's all about. This is about me. I travel 3 to 6 trips per year, mostly domestic. So we're not designing a travel card for Uncle Luke. We're not designing a travel card for Chad from Chad's Money Minutes. We're not designing a travel card for Ask Sebi. We're not designing the travel card for the high roller corporate bro who travels, 100 times per year for his company. We're not designing a card for a self-employed person who travels for their own self-employment constantly. This is for regular Joe, Mr. Roz, who works an office job or a blue-collar job and just wants to get into points and miles and take some trips, a couple of them solo, a couple with family, might do one big trip a year, and maybe one is international every other year or something along these lines. So this is the ideal travel card for Dugroz, not for everyone. Hopefully, this appeals to you as well. Sam says, the type of advertising I received while typing was targeting my chat log alone. It didn't affect the video. It's a new annoyance of YouTube. That's a bummer. Yuri G has arrived. Wells Fargo will probably introduce the best travel card based on the autograph journey introduction. Well, you're kind of reading my mind, Yuri, and thanks for being here, by the way. Next slide, please. So, what are the factors that make up a good travel credit card for me? In addition to really liking corn, earnings. What does the card earn? Insurance. Does the card protect you when you're traveling, either domestically or abroad, in a reasonable kind of way? You got your collision damage waiver, lost luggage, that kind of stuff. Non-partner redemption options. And when I say non-partner redemption options, I want you to think about things like real-time rewards on the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve, things like pay yourself back on the Aeroplan card, things like the Chase Travel Portal, which gives you a little bump, some way of redeeming your points for decent value other than transfer partners or cashing out. Oops, forgot to mute. There we go. Next factor is lounge access. Doesn't have to be fancy, but it's worth consideration. Status, like do you get Hilton Gold? Do you get Hertz President's Circle? Those kinds of things. And then credits. How much money are they going to give you back to lessen the blow of the annual fee? For example, the autograph journey gives you $50 towards flights once a year. Those are credits that help you offset your cost. And then, of course, lastly, the transfer partners themselves are a factor. I have to somehow work into this whole grand equation. Tampa Travel's here. Good to see you, Tampa Travel. I think it's been a little while. Maybe first time ever. I don't remember. Glad to have you on board either way. Wells Fargo Autograph is a no annual fee, no foreign transaction fee card. Covers every category when traveling. It's my go-to. So yeah, what you're going to see here is we're borrowing bits and pieces of different cards to make the perfect one. And I predict the Wells Fargo Autograph will show up on this list. Yuri says the Citi Prestige and the US Bank Altitude Reserve are pretty good travel cards. We'll pull bits and pieces of what they have to offer in here also. All right, so what is the next thing we need to think about? Why no Amex? Why like Amex, Dugroz? Well, So these are the 4 issuers I'm going to kind of borrow from and hypothesize what if they brought out a good travel card. These are arranged in no particular order, no particular size, by the way. Citi, Wells Fargo, Chase, and Capital One. I'm not saying it's these exact cards, just these cards represent the 4 issuers we'll be shooting to come up with a hypothetical moderately premium card to suit the regular Joe traveler on. The reason I'm not including Amex is for a couple reasons. First of all, I don't think they would ever do this. I don't think they would come up with a card like the one that I'm doing. I think Amex best suits people doing international business class. And while I will do that next summer, and I did it last summer, every other year, it's not going to be a regular enough thing to go out of the way for. I just saw this comment here. Dave W says the username of the card should be Santos L. Halper. Oh my word. Very obscure and perfect Simpsons reference there, Dave. Exactly. I wished I had thought about this. I was staying up till 1:15 in the morning last night getting this ready, so my brain wasn't quite working. So I'm not going to go for Amex. Obviously, if they came up with something like this, I would be on board. But other than jumping through some really weird hoops, I don't see Amex ever doing anything like pay yourself back. I'm aware. David William is here. How you doing, David? If Autograph Journey had like 4 to 6 lounge passes, it would be good. It would be kind of like the Altitude Connect over on US Bank. They have 4 lounge passes per year with Priority Pass. Ian Mascal has arrived, a big-time Dugroz diehard. Glad to see you, Ian. All right. Vincent says, multipliers from the Wells Fargo Autograph and Active Cash should be combined into a single card, then add a grocery category. That should be the bare minimum, then build from there. I don't know that grocery is really what issuers think of as a feature of a travel card, but everything else I agree with you on. Keep the 5X on flights, keep the 4X on hotels, actually flip-flop that other way around, and keep 3X on all other travel, and the Autograph Journey should absolutely have transit. Chad says, how's Wells Fargo on approvals? I'm getting near the end game. They approved me for the autograph and the new business card, the 2% Everywhere business card. My brain is farting and I can't think of it right now. It's their only business card. Yuri thinks Vincent's proposal is unlikely. Well, hey, this slideshow is all about dreaming about things. So let's continue our dreaming here. First category is earnings. Obviously, we want buckets of cash, money. So earnings are kind of important. Are earnings super important on a travel card? I generally take the approach of travel is for redeeming points, not for earning points. But if you're going to have it anyway, why not combine it into one card since we're dreaming? I'm gonna allow it. So let's talk about earnings. First of all, I think this dream card should have travel at 3X. And this would be all kinds of travel. This would be airplanes, hotels, Amtrak, other transit, car rentals, cruises, whatever it is, it should have it. And I think 3X on travel is well supported. The only card of the ecosystems we're looking at that doesn't have it is the Venture X from Capital One, but that's because it gets 2X and everything. But we've got some examples to support that this is a real thing. The Autograph Journey has it. The Strata Premier has it. The Chase Sapphire Reserve has it. The Altitude Reserve has it. So 3X on travel, very, very reasonable. Yuri says, I was approved for the Wells Fargo Autograph Journey and Choice Select recently. Great. Moving on. What is the Choice Select? That's not ringing a bell. Moving on. Transit, I think, should be at 3X. Now, here's what somebody earlier talked about, Vincent, being combined a single card. It's silly that the Autograph Journey doesn't have transit, but the little brother with no annual fee does. How does that make any sense? So, like, if you're taking a subway in London, or you're taking a boat tour in Sweden, or Uber and Lyft, or I I don't know, what are some other transit options? You're taking a monorail somewhere that codes as transit, or buses, public transport in a small to medium-sized city. Um, it should code as 3X. The Autograph Journey does it. Now, the reason why I put over in like little cards on the side is the Strata Premier and the Sapphire Reserve is I don't know how they code those kind of things. I couldn't find the answer quickly and easily. Does anybody know on the CSR and this version of the CSP with Citi? If you do a local bus, just, the Des Moines Metro Transit Authority, or out in San Francisco, you take BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit, are either of those giving you 3X or are they just giving you 1X? I actually don't know, and I didn't look into it well enough. Monorail, 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 monorail. It glides as softly as a cloud. What about us brain-dead slobs? You'll be given cushy jobs. Matt Clausen says the CSR Transit is part of travel at 3X. Okay, good. So they've got that embedded there on the Chase side. Did I lose track of where I was? Okay, Yuri says Choice Select is the $95 annual fee Choice card. Oh, I got Choice and Citi mixed up. I'm sorry. Thanks for clarifying, Yuri. Yuri says, I recently purchased a Deutsche Bahn with the US Bank Altitude Reserve, and it coded as passenger rail. That must be somewhere in Germany. I recognize the word Deutsch. I'm really proud of myself, by the way. I was looking through some places to stay on our vacation, and there was a sign in Switzerland, and I don't know if it was in German or Dutch. It kind of seemed like it could be either one. And the sign said, Otter Grande Parking Garage. And I translated that to underground parking garage without even looking it up. I've got some linguistic skills. Vincent says, by having a grocery multiplier and travel card, you can keep that card in your wallet all the time and not have to switch it in and out. As long as it's international, unlike the Amex Gold. Yeah, that's a good idea. Dave W. said, I just had a flashback. Anyone remember the Uber card? I do remember it. Ali says, I get 3X on my Citi Strata Premier for Seattle ferries. Good. Okay. Well, then we've got some coverage then. Let's, I would make these cards big, but I don't want to bother doing that right now. So it is all three of these. Thank you for clarifying, Matt and Ali. Dave W. says, I definitely know all your Simpsons quotes. Yeah, if it's from like the first 7 or 8 years, I don't really go beyond that. Strata Premier, less defined. Yuri says the Clipper card in the San Francisco Bay Area coded as suburban and local commuter passenger, including ferries. This includes BART, Caltrain, and local buses. Was that with Chase or Citi, Yuri? Probably Citi, because I think that's your flavor. My Chase card. All right. Oh, you were talking about your Chase Sapphire Preferred, not your Citi. I'm sorry, Ali. Okay. So what Matt said, Strata is less defined. Dave W. Hans and Fritz, he is from the East, I'm from the West. That's just John and Frank. Homer, you've been safety inspector for 2 years. What initiatives have you spearheaded during that time? All of them? One of my favorite episodes. I got to cut back on the Simpsons quotes because while like probably 10 people love it, it may not play well with the audience as a whole. So this perfect card we've got is going to have both travel and transit at 3X. Next up is earnings on dining. This is well supported. There's lots of travel cards that have 3X on dining. Wells Fargo, both of theirs do. The CSR does. The CSP does. The other CSP does. So this one's a no-brainer. I don't even think we need to talk about it. If you're going to call yourself a travel card, you better have modifiers on 3X on dining. If you haven't done so, please click the thumbs up button. We're at 57 people. Let's see if we can get over 60 in here. That would be awesome. US Bank Altitude Reserve was one that coded as transit in the Bay Area. That's good. Dave W is in love with the Simpsons quotes. Moving on. Earnings. How about gas? This isn't real well supported, but I think it's supported enough. The Citi Strata Premier has 3X on gas. The regular Wells Fargo Autograph has 3X on gas. Shame on you, Autograph Journey, for not having it. Shame on you, Chase Sapphire Reserve, for not having it. The Dugroz Reserve is going to have 3X on gas. or whatever we call it. Yuri says Citi doesn't have transit right now except on the custom cash, if you choose that as your category. That's good to know. Chad Pennycuff says, when I think of The Simpsons, all I hear is we need to roll through Springfield at Universal before they rip out the land. Bumblebee Man Street tacos, carnitas are the best theme park snack on the planet. I didn't even know there was a Springfield land at Universal Studios, and they're going to tear it out? Oh, man. Well, maybe I do need to get down there real soon, Chad. Double Animal Fries has arrived. Hi, everyone. Love your username. All right, so earnings. Let's talk about the elevated portal earnings. Like, with the Capital One Venture X, you get 10x in their portal. With the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you get 10x in their portal on certain things. There's elevated earnings on Citi. There's elevated earnings on the Altitude Reserve. I don't remember. But I said, meh, because I really don't care. I'm sure they probably will on this hypothetical card, but I'm not even going to take that into consideration because do you know how often I'm paying cash to book things through the portal? I think I've done it once ever, and it was a situation where a family member was having me come out, and then they reimbursed me, or maybe it was my wife going to help take care of her dad for something. I think I booked a flight through the Capital One portal in cash because I knew I was getting reimbursed. But other than that, I never use it, so it's just not that big of a deal. Vincent says, when I took trains in the UK, I would always see a Sainsbury, which is a grocery chain, where grocery multiplier would be useful. I think we may have started a debate here. Ian says, Simpson Land sucks at Universal. It's so freaking old, and they put all the staff that doesn't care anymore over there. Highly depressing. I suggest you pass. Yuri says that a tune, the Wells Fargo tune, has transit, but does not include taxi cabs and limos, which is how Uber and Lyft code. So it unfortunately doesn't include Uber and Lyft. Robert Jarrell has arrived. How you doing, Robert? Good to see you on board. He's a big-time Dugroz diehard. Glad to see you on board and a supporter of the channel. So I'm not going to worry about elevated portal earnings. We're not even going to take that into consideration. Everything else. Now, this is a little controversial. I'm going to say my dream card is a travel card, and instead of 1x on everything else, it's going to get 2x on everything else. Now, yes, you can always pull in something like the Citi Double Cash. You could pull in your Wells Fargo Signify Business card. You could pull in your Venture or Venture X and get 2x on everything. But I want it to be all in one card. This is kind of supported because we have a couple examples. The Venture X doesn't have 3x on anything, but it does have 2x on everything. So you could argue that's a feature that already exists. The One Key card from Wells Fargo has this. Now, I realize you're earning One Key points, which is Expedia, Hotels.com, and Vrbo, and it has to be used there, and there's no sort of bump up. So it's functionally just cash back that you have to use at one of those places. But the One Key Plus card is a annual fee card. It's like $95, and it earns 3x on gas, grocery, and dining, and then 2x everywhere else. So it is supported that this kind of thing exists, and I'm going to say on the Dugroz Reserve card, or whatever I end up calling it, I think I called it the Dugroz Epic card. The name of the user is Santos L. Halper, Simpsons reference. I'm going to say my card gets 2x on everything else. So let's summarize what the Dugroz card's going to earn. It's going to earn 3x on travel, transit, dining, gas, and then 2x on everything else. So how would you feel about this for a travel card? Would you be pretty happy that someone finally brought it all together? Could Wells Fargo do this? Maybe. Could Citi do this? Maybe. Could Chase do this? I think it's less likely. Brian says, sounds like Itchy and Scranchy land, Ian. Ian says, fair enough. I love The Simpsons, so I went, but it was just sad. You could feel that it used to be a gemstone, and they've just let it go. I've never been there, so I don't know. It depends. I'll let somebody else speak for them. Robert says, I may have missed this, but the Altitude Reserve seems to include all transit and travel except parking. Is that what you see? I'm not sure, Robert. Somebody earlier mentioned, I think it was Yuri G, said rapid transit in the San Francisco Bay Area did code as transit/travel and earned 3x on his Altitude Reserve, but I've never personally tested it. The only thing I've used it for is like rental cars, which definitely codes as travel. Filmo says, I had a Sirius XM ad pop up with very loud reggae music. I thought you were doing a bit. LOL. I need some sleep. Matt says, it's the Amaji Zion Bank Reserve, but better so far. I've never even heard of that card, Matt, so I'll have to look into that. Send me a private message or something reminding me to look into that. What kind of points currency would the Dugroz card earn? Well, what I'm really going to do is basically at the end say, what if this was a Chase card? What if it was a Wells Fargo card, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll get there. Oh, I hit a button. Robert came in strong with a super sticker, $1.99. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you, Robert, for your support. I appreciate that. Ali says the Dugroz Reserve works great. It's also for your line of fine wines. I actually have a line of fine milk, not wine. Yuri says, yes, this is not bad, but I'd want some 5X category like the Wells Fargo Autograph Journey and the Citi Prestige. Again, we're shooting for the card that appeals to me. I think travel is for redeeming, not for earning, so it's not that big of a deal for me. Chad Pennycuff referring to Filmo. If you watch enough YouTube, it's worth $12 a month to get no ads. Remember to smash the like button. Thanks again, Sam. And Ian says, I suck at maximizing my cards using them correctly to maximize spend. I got to work on that next year. Yuri says the Altitude Reserve does include transit and parking, referring to Robert. And TH says, no, thanks for the good laugh. Have to take off. We'll catch the repay later. Keep up the good work. Looking forward to 2025. Cheers. Thank you, TH. A strong $5 super chat. Celebrate, celebrate. Wow, you guys are spreading a lot of Christmas cheer. I appreciate that, this live stream. All right, let's keep going. How much are increased earnings worth? So this is sort of the formula. We're building the card here. I've said increased earnings. How much is that worth? How much would I pay in a credit card to have these awesome earnings? I've decided it's worth $50 in annual fee. What am I basing that on? I don't know, but whatever the features are, take the annual fee without all those increased earnings. Like the difference between a 2X everywhere and what I just went over, I'm going to say $50. Now, is that really worth paying? Is it worth paying the extra $50 to better or beat the 2X on the Venture X on everything? So you've got 3X on dining, on gas, on travel, on transit. 3X compared to 2X. Let me grab my calculator. 3 minus 2, that is 1. So you're getting an extra 1X on all those things. So if you think of it like penny points, that would be, you would have to spend $5,000 a year in those combined categories, because 5,000, move the decimal 2 places, 550. For it to be worth $50 more than like the Venture X would be on a net basis, you'd have to spend at least $5,000 a year in those categories. If you think your points is worth $0.015, then it's somewhere around $3,300. I'm not sure if I'm spending that much on that card in those categories, but I think it's a good enough concept I'm willing to. Ooh, we're really close to 60 viewers, so click the thumbs up button if you haven't done so yet. See if we can get up over 60. Moving on. Next, let's talk about insurance. The way I would summarize insurance on the Dugroz card is that it needs to be pretty good. Yeah, it doesn't have to be amazing, but it needs to be pretty good. And that's going to be a couple different things. We're going to shoot for travel insurance. We're not worrying about like extended warranty or return protection, because this is a travel card. I'm worried about the travel insurance. That's actually more important to me than how much the card earns, 3X versus 2X. I want lost and damaged luggage. I want baggage delay. That one I could let go and it would still be good enough. I want trip delay. At least if it's an overnight trip, I want to be able to get a hotel. I want trip interruption and cancellation in some form or another. I definitely got to have primary collision damage waiver. And I would like to have some sort of medical insurance, at least something basic. Now, it seems like the only issuer that does that decently is Chase. Like, I think if I trip and fall when I'm walking around the mean streets of Glasgow, Scotland next year and break my ankle, I can go to the emergency room and it'll cover up to $1,500 of those expenses. And that'll at least cover my copay, and anything above and beyond that would have to be on my own personal insurance. But at least it's something. And then emergency evacuation would be preferred. That's probably dreaming big. That would just be a nicety. So I would say if we have lost damaged luggage, we can skip baggage delay, trip interruption, primary CDW, and at least some sort of basic medical. We can skip emergency evacuation. I will be satisfied enough with the travel insurance. By the way, this card needs to have no foreign transaction fee. I didn't know where to put that, so I'm just throwing it in here. Of course, any card that, is more than, say, $200 annual fee should have no foreign transaction fee. So how much do I think decent insurance is worth? I think it's worth about $100 an annual fee. So to go, if I took the Citi Strata Premier from very base level insurance or no insurance up to Chase level insurance, I would be willing to pay an extra $100 an annual fee. So for the sake of building the card, we've got $50 an annual fee from those increased earnings, $100 in annual fees from the insurance. We're up to $150 card so far. Where were we? Okay. Brian says we hit 63. Oh, I see 64. Awesome. Celebrate. Did anyone break the news to Dugroz yet? He made the list. What list are we referencing? Was it related to this comment? There shouldn't have been any elves this year. Santa Claus didn't pass the elf and safety certificate. Don't know what that means. I don't know what this means either. That's okay. Cell phone protection. Didn't even think of that, Dave. I would say since this is a travel card, I don't have to have cell phone protection. Also, I'm rolling with an iPhone 8, so it's not a big deal to me, but I'll probably upgrade to a 11, 12, 13, something like that with my technology fund in the near future. I am really curious now what list I made. We'll find out. Robert says, thanks. I got 1X on some transit. It was a train in Scandinavia when I had to use the card in an app, but it's a vague memory. That was about the altitude reserve. It might have been because going through the app, it codes as something else, like the third-party processor. Moving on here with my perfect credit card. All right, next up, non-partner redemption options or some sort of bump up. So this would be like 1.25 in the portal, 1.5 in the portal, 1.5 real-time rewards, something along those lines. Now you might be thinking, Doug, why are you showing the Citi Strata Premier and the Capital One Venture X cards? They don't have those things. Precisely, because these are the cards that failed at it. And this is important to someone like me who, not so much on my big international trips, but on my domestic trips, man, when I went to see waterfalls in West Virginia, I used the snot out of this thing. When I went to Pensacola, Florida, I used my 1.5. I used my real-time rewards in my U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve for rental cars, that kind of stuff. So I got to have more cowbell. I got to have more bump-up options. Well, this is well supported in the community of cards in general, in non-partner redemption options. We have some examples at the 1.5 level. You got the Sapphire Reserve in their portal. You got the Altitude Reserve with its 1.5 real-time rewards. And hey, Filmo, even the grandfathered Golden Ponies card, which is technically called the Wells Fargo Signature Visa card, on airlines, you can get 1.5 in their portal. And then the Aeroplan card gets 1.25 on Pay Yourself Back. I didn't list the Chase Sapphire Preferred because I didn't have a picture of it saved. I was lazy. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. Forgive me. But we know that's an option as well. So this is well supported out there in the world of points and miles. I think a bump up is fair and reasonable. Yuri says, check the coding. It may be coded differently since Deutsche Bahn coded as passenger rail. Nicholas Elia says, when are you going to get your One Key Plus card from Fells Fargo? My wife already has the card. I'm still working on finding out how hackable it is and what we're going to do with that. I had a friend growing up named Nicola Ellis, which is a very similar name to yours. Sam K says, in the UK, we sometimes drop the H letter and health sounds like elf. Oh, okay. Here's my terrible accent. Hello, would you pass an health inspection? I get it. There she is in all her splendor, says Filmo, looking longingly at the now grandfathered card, the Golden Ponies card that he can't get, but I have. I'll have to show it to you in person next time we get together. So, How much is this worth? How much is a non-partner redemption bump up of some kind worth? Well, it depends. I value a travel eraser or real-time reward or pay yourself back worth more than a simple portal bump. What I mean by that is, like, I wish that Chase Sapphire Reserve, instead of doing a portal at 1.5, they would give you a travel eraser at 1.5, where you actually purchase. I can go to Frank's Hotel in Donaldson, Iowa, spend the night. It's only $40 because it's a Roach Hotel. Put it on my CSR, and then once it posts, click a button to erase that purchase at 1.5 cents per point. The same way the Aeroplan card works. But I can't. I have to go through their portal and book it there, which means I'm not double dipping. I'm not earning on it. I can't earn my Frank's Hotels reward points and those kind of things. So I would much prefer a travel eraser or pay yourself back feature than a portal. I know why Chase does it, because they're getting behind the scenes deals. And if Frank's Hotel, if I pay $40, they're probably only passing along $36 and pocketing the $4 difference. So I understand why they do it, but what I'm saying is it's more valuable. So for the sake of the Dugroz card, I'm going to say it has a 1.25x similar to Aeroplan. It'll be a pay yourself back, where you can do what I said. You can go to Frank's Hotel, push a button to travel erase at 1.25 cents per point. I value that feature at $100 in the annual fee. And I think that's actually maybe a little on the low side, because if you think about it this way, let's say you buy a hotel that normally costs $1,000. So instead of using 100,000 points, you only have to use 80,000 points, because 80,000 times 1.25 would be 100,000 points. So right there, you've saved 20,000 points. And even if you take that as cash, that's worth $200. So maybe I'm undervaluing this and it should cost more, but the math is really nice at $100. So I'm going to say I'm going to pay $100 more in annual fee for that particular feature. Sam K reminds us the Americans dropped the H in herbs too. Unless it's a man's first name, then we say Herb, like Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. But if you're buying herbs and spices, like in Kentucky Fried Chicken, 13 herbs and spices, then it's just herb. Chase is stalking me at Dugroz reports. Portals are a scam, Chad. I agree. Priceline has the best travel eraser, 1.67 cents per point. Yeah, but you got to go through Priceline. Actually, depending on how you travel, that might be worth doing. Who issues the Priceline card, Yuri? We've hit the time of day where the Venetian blind dots are showing on my face. I apologize. Yuri's responding to Chad Pennycuff's comment that portals are a scam. He says, some of them. I recently priced portal for airlines in Germany. Chase, Citi, and US Bank were around 1.5 more expensive, but Hopper and Capital One was the same price. The Hopper on Capital One. I've heard Capital One has one of the more fair portals, so worth recognition in the archives of the Dugroz order. Thank you, Yuri. I will grant you 20 Dugroz points for giving us that information. Lounge access. This is like the weirdest clip art ever, but whatever. I found it online. So you're going to go to a lounge. You're going to sit crisscross applesauce on a beanbag, apparently. But we do need to talk about lounge access. Now, all I need is priority pass, because I'm not traveling enough to insist on having access to the Capital One lounges or the Chase Sapphire lounges. Are they nice? Yeah, they're nice. Have I taken showers in them and loved them? Yes, I have. But I don't need them. Bear in mind, this is more of an average Joe type travel card. It's like, it's supposed to fit like somewhere between like the Venture X and the CSR. If I'm flying international business class, I'm going to get lounge access anyway. In fact, I think like with Virgin Atlantic, if you're flying in their premium economy, you get some sort of low level lounge access. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong. So if I'm doing my, once every other year international trip with my family, or maybe once my kids graduate high school in 3 years, I travel every year with my wife somewhere to Europe or Asia or South America or something like that, I'm going to get it anyway, because we're probably buying business class seats, so I don't need to worry about lounge access. I don't fly enough to earn status, so going for like the Admirals Club with American or the United Lounges, I don't fly enough to even worry about those sort of like airline specific lounges. I'm also not loyal to one airline. I live in a non-hub city, Des Moines, so I have to just go with whatever I can find. Whoops, sorry about that. And then lastly, I would say limited priority pass visits that include restaurants, like the way the Altitude Reserve does it, is more important than unlimited visits without restaurants, because I'm not going 50 times a year. I might be going, including family, 12, 13, 14 times a year. But sometimes restaurants the only option, like if there is no lounge. How much is Priority Pass worth to me? Well, it depends. I would say if it's 12 to 15 visits a year without restaurants baked into this hypothetical card, I would pay an extra $50. If you're going to give me 12 to 15 visits that includes restaurants, that's worth $100. And I put a little asterisk by it because it's my card. So I'm going to say that's how it goes. Now, I know Matt Clausen and others have said it seems like Priority Pass is telling people that if you have your own proprietary lounges, like Chase now has their lounges, Capital One now has their lounges, that's why lounges were eliminated. Hold on. From their premium cards. I don't know if that's true or not. For the sake of dreaming, we're going to say you can still do this. I can get 12 to 15 visits with restaurants. I'm just going to say 15 for the sake of easy math. With a family of 4, that's basically like, 12 divided by 4 would be 3, like 3 segments a year. So I could do 1 round trip and then one way where we all eat at a restaurant. And yeah, even if you only go, let's say you're really cheap and you only spend $10 at restaurants, you get a plate of biscuits and gravy and some water. You hit 10 visits a year, you've broken even. Anything above and beyond that is gravy on the biscuits. It's gravy on the biscuits and gravy. It's icing on the cake, however you want to say it. Costco has decent prices on travel also. Nicholas asks me, have you ever heard of the Wander card from Credit One? I have not. I would be leery to get anything from Capital One. Generally don't get a good impression there. Yuri says Priceline is Barclays. Priceline has 1.67 cents per point of travel, except on commators, like probably competitors like Expedia. Okay, so the Priceline card is issued by Barclays. I actually looked into that once. Maybe it's time to look into it again. Chad says, I need more than Priority Pass. The Detroit and Orlando main terminal Priority Pass options suck. Maybe you can visit a Priority Pass restaurant in one of those. Filmo says, Dugroz Reserve Lounge is in one location, Des Moines, Iowa. That's right. There might be one in Cedar Rapids, Iowa also. There might be one in that town in Virginia I visited, Charlottesville, Virginia. Maybe they don't have a lounge either. So those are the 3 locations of the Dugroz Lounge: Des Moines, Iowa, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and Charlottesville, Virginia. Little airports with no other lounges. People are like, how do I get into the Dugroz Lounge? Tampa Travel says Glasgow is nice. Not as much to see, but enjoyed the street art walking tour. Went on pub tour. Was not crowded. Edinburgh was packed. It seems like Edinburgh is a little more historic, a little more touristy. Glasgow is more businessy. That's the impression I'm getting, but I think either would be nice. And it looks like it's only about an hour and 20 minutes by train between the two, so not that big of a deal, I hope. Robert says the Capital One portal is priced well, and they have good customer service for correcting problems with airline bookings. But to a Holiday Inn Express, your booking shows up as third party. Priceline? Question mark. Yeah, the question is, if I'm not going for status, does it matter? These are all good things to think over. And Chad says, seriously, Chase, create a $695 Amex killer and build it in all one card, even multipliers and best features you got across Sapphire, Freedom, Inks. I'm 100% in. We would all like that. I don't think they're ever going to do it. All right, let's keep going here. Status. I don't care, mostly. So you can get status with lots of premium cards. For example, on the Capital One Venture X, you get Hertz status, President's Circle. I know on both the Altitude Reserve and the Sapphire Reserve, you get some sort of rental car statuses. I don't remember what they are. I put American Airlines because I might care about that a little bit. There's a thought process out there. It's nothing more than rampant speculation at this point that when Citi goes exclusive with American Airlines, maybe, if you have either their elite card or their mid-level travel card, you'll get some sort of American Airlines status. The reason I only care a little is because I don't travel enough for it to matter. So like, if I'm someone like Chad from Chad Money Minutes, and I'm traveling for work 30 to 100 times a year, somewhere in that range, and I have status on an airline and I always fly that airline, I'm probably getting upgraded, 10, 20, 50% of the time. But imagine you only fly domestically 4 times in a year, and all 4 times you're there, keeping your fingers crossed and hoping for an upgrade, and you don't get it at all. I think when you travel intermittently, you need guaranteed upgrades. Otherwise, don't even bother. If I'm taking a 2-hour flight from Des Moines to Pittsburgh, which is not a real flight, but let's say it is. I'm taking a 2-hour flight from Des Moines to Pittsburgh. Oh, well, if I have to sit in economy, not that big of a deal. So I don't value status at all. Let's move along and talk about credits and transfer partners. When I talk about credits and transfer partners, this is what I mean. The size of the credit that you get in how I'm doing this should be directly proportionate to the quality of your transfer partners. Does that make sense? So let's just say your transfer partners are terrible or non-existent. I expect a big credit available. If your transfer partners are really good, it doesn't have to bring that net annual fee down as much for me to be satisfied. Real life example, I think the reason why, like the US Bank Altitude Reserve has a pretty healthy statement credit, $325 out of a $400 annual fee, thus bringing your net annual fee to $75, is because they don't have any transfer partners. So they can make you a pretty good deal because they don't have those sort of expenses. Whereas, Amex Platinum Card doesn't have any built-in automatic travel credit like the CSR does. Even the CSRs, the net annual fee is still $250. So I think you can get away with having a bigger net annual fee if you have better transfer partners. And that's how I'm going to apply this to all these places. A lot of people making comments here. I'm running a little behind schedule, so I'm going to skip over those for now, but I will come back to all the ones that are pertinent to the subject at hand if you stick around through the biology break or close to it. So let's figure out where we are so far. What does this hypothetical perfect card for Dugroz reports look like? And then we can figure out what the credits are needed to offset the annual fee. So how much should the annual fee be? Here's what we have factored in so far. The elevated earnings of 3x on gas, grocery, travel, transit, and the 2x everywhere else, I'm saying will contribute $50 towards the annual fee. The pretty good travel insurance, or at least good enough travel insurance, will be $100. The 1.25 redemption bump, like pay yourself back, I'm just going to call it pay yourself back from now on, will be worth $100. And the priority pass in full, including restaurants, though it's limited visits, 15 visits a year, will be worth $100. So that's pretty easy. Status, not worth anything. I'm not going to even bother. If we have status, I will consider it icing on the cake. I will consider gravy on the biscuits, but I'm not going to make it part of the equation. Much like when Homer designed the perfect car for Uncle Herb. There's the man's name, Herb. So many Venn diagram of overlapping illustrations. Much like Homer designing the perfect car, I'm designing the perfect card. I can make it whatever I want, whether it has a separate dome for the children or not. That brings our total to $350 of the annual fee. So the gross annual fee, the actual annual fee charged every year on the perfect Dugroz card, is going to be $350. Andrew Beach said audio ? Is anyone else having problems with audio? I hope not. If other people are, please let me know. So moving on here. Credits. What kind of credits are there? Well, there's different kinds of credits. You could have a airline credit, which is this happy little kid's airplane. You could have a dining credit like the Altitude Reserve does, eat a dancing hamburger. You could have a hotel credit like where it's just for hotels. The CSP, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, gives you $50 off one hotel. There's different types of credits, but they're not all the same. The more flexible the credit, the more valuable it is. So I would say Chase Sapphire Reserve and the US Bank Altitude Reserve do it right. You just buy the thing and you get it. You don't have to jump through hoops. Whereas the Venture X is less valuable because it's just a coupon. You have to spend it in a certain way they tell you to. So for the sake of our exercise today, let's assume each bank does it the same way they do now. And what you're going to see next is me going through each of the issuers and saying, what if Chase issued this card? What if Citi issued this card? What if Wells Fargo issued this card? What if Capital One issued this card? Would they have, as King Sam said, a broad travel credit or a more limited travel credit? We prefer the good ones. Everyone else says the audio is fine, so I think we're okay with that. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Brian. Apparently I look like Ned Flanders. I don't think he just has a mustache. Oakley dokley do. All right, so if Chase issued this card, the credit is perfect. It's a full value credit, just the same way the Sapphire Reserve does it now. And yes, I'm using the card art from existing cards because, again, I'm not a graphic artist. I was up late. I didn't have time to do this. Maybe I need Brian or King Sam or someone like that to design some fun cards for me. So this will be just a travel credit. You buy any kind of travel, you just get the credit. It's perfect. I'm going to give it full value. Chase has great transfer partners, and because they have great transfer partners, the best of the ones we're reviewing, bear in mind we're not reviewing Amex, it's okay if the travel credit is small. It can be little and have a higher net annual fee because their partners are so great, they can get away with that. So if I designed this card and I'm still trying to be fair and reasonable, I would say let's put a $50 travel credit on this card. We're not going to do it the way the Sapphire Preferred does, where you have to book a hotel once a year. It's a broad travel credit. So if I go to Frank's Hotel in Donaldson, Iowa, and pay $40, I will automatically use $40 of my $50 in annual travel credit on this card. And then I can take Amtrak back to Des Moines for $12, and it triggers the remainder of the travel credit. I get my full $50 when that 10 posts. So this is going to be a net annual fee card of $300. The perfect Dugroz travel card, if issued by Chase, would on the net cost $350. What do you think of the Chase version of the Dugroz card? Next up, Citi. Citi is, once again, the $350 that we came up with, and I go to Citi and they let me design the card. What do we come up with? Their credit is also perfect. It works exactly the same way as Chase. Now, obviously, the Strata Premier doesn't have anything like this right now. They have that stupid $100 credit off of a $500 or more hotel booked through their portal, which is ludicrous. We're just going to pretend that doesn't exist. But if you are lucky enough to have the grandfathered Citi Prestige card, my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that's how their credit worked. On the Citi Prestige card, whatever their credit was, I think it was $250 or something like that. You buy $250 from anywhere, flight, Amtrak, independent hotel, it triggers the credit and you just get it. So for the sake of this illustration, we're going to say that's how it works. Citi has good, not great transfer partners. So the credit must be medium to decent. Maybe some people are going to say Citi's transfer partners are criminally underrated. You can be underrated and still be good, but not great. So again, they're above middle of the road, but just barely above middle of the road. If they were in school, they'd be getting like a B- or a B, something like that. So the credit has to be kind of mediocre, middle, decent-ish. And I'm going to say this card has a $150 travel credit, again, posts full value, and that brings the net annual fee to $200. So what do you think? Would you get the Dugroz card if it was issued by Citi and had a net annual fee of $200? Thank you so much. For those of you who are on board, click the thumbs up button if you've not yet done so. Yuri confirmed that you do get a Prestige travel credit, so that is how Citi has handled it in the past. Great. King Sam says, what's better than a credit? Anniversary points. You could say that, sure. They don't have Aeroplan L. Citi doesn't have Aeroplan. Is that what you're getting at? Yeah, that's one of the things that keeps them from being great. But they do have Avianca and Turkish. Neither of those are great for me, but for some people they might be. Again, if you're a big time traveler like Yuri, you might need to bring things down a notch. We're thinking of kind of your average family man, desk job kind of guy here. I'm not a high roller. All right, Capital One. What if Capital One issued this card? You've got the same features. You got the same $350 annual fee. The credit is poor, so I'm only going to give it 80% of its value. Let's face it, we don't like having a coupon with Capital One for $300 every year to offset the annual fee. So I only value the coupon that you get in their portal, their credit, at 80% of its value. So whatever it's worth, for the sake of calculating net annual fee, I'm only going to credit that at 80%. They have mediocre transfer partners. You could even argue mediocre at best, in my opinion. I mean, they do have, like, what do they have that's unique? Well, they have Wyndham, you know. The problem with both Capital One and Wells Fargo, which we'll get to later, is neither of them have that one big headliner transfer partner. So like Hyatt belongs to Chase, big headliner. Citi will presumably have American Airlines in the near future. Amex has Delta and Hilton. Capital One doesn't really have a headliner type card. They have a card. They have some. None of them are really headliners. I mean, what would be the best one? Wyndham? That's not much, especially for people traveling within America. So when you have a poor credit and mediocre transfer partners, you got to have a big credit to make this worth getting. So I'm going to say it's a $250 travel credit, but I only value it at 80% because it's a coupon. It's a coupon to use in their portal. Which means I'm going to value it at $200. Now, all their marketing and stuff will say $250. A YouTuber who's reviewing this, who doesn't put a lot of thought into it or is just flying through it quickly, will say it's worth $250, but it's really worth $200, which means the net annual fee is going to be somewhere between $100 and $150. If we kind of take the lazy-ish approach, we would say it's a $100 annual fee, because that's what it is on paper net. But really, because I only give it 80% of its value, it's going to be a $150 annual fee. So what do you think? Would you get the Capital One version of this card if it was a $150 net annual fee? Yuri G says Capital One does have Aeroplan. I think King Sam was referencing back to the previous slide, Citi, saying they don't have Aeroplan. But thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it. Last but not least, bringing up the rear, Wells Fargo, the one who started this whole thought process when I watched Matt Clausen talking about them. What if Wells Fargo issued the Dugroz card? Well, the credit is okay, and I would say I valued it 90%. So this would be the same kind of credit that the Autograph Journey gives, where it's $50. It's an automatic travel credit. It just has to be something that codes as an airline. So if you get a $50 flight on Allegiant Air from Cedar Rapids to St. Petersburg, Florida, and it's at least $50, boom, you've triggered the credit. That's better than the way Capital One does it. I say it's okay and only value it at 90% because I wish it was all travel and included trains, planes, automobiles, not just planes. But you're probably going to get at least, one flight a year. I'll say 90% of its value. Wells Fargo, let's be honest, their transfer partners are poor. And they're poor not because they're intrinsically bad, but just because there's limited. There's not enough of them. I like the fact they travel to Choice at 1 to 2. I like the fact you can transfer to British, but I like the fact that you can transfer to KLM Flying Blue, also Air France Flying Blue. But there's just not enough of them. So I'm going to call them poor. To make up for the fact that it's only 90% valued and it's poor transfer partners, this credit needs to be huge. It needs to be big. Therefore, we're going to say this card gives you a $300 travel credit. Since I'm saying that's worth 90% of its face value, I'm going to value it on the net at $270. So the annual fee will be on a net basis, between $50 and $80. If you take the simple, not taking the time to think about it approach, it's a $50 net annual fee. If you're a little more detail oriented like me and Filmo, $80. So what do you think? Would you get this card if it was issued by Wells Fargo? Now, since all 64 of you have stayed on board, you're going to get to vote on this in just a little bit. So stay tuned for like 2 or 3 more minutes. But let's review the card before we start our voting. We're going to do one of those Menti polls like Stam the Credit Frog does. A $350 annual fee on the Dugroz Epic card. And it says Santos El Halper in little letters down here. It earns, I went too fast. It earns 3x on travel, transit, dining, and gas. It gives you 2x everywhere else. It gives you comprehensive insurance. It gives you 1.25 cents per point travel blaster. That's what I called it. I didn't call it a pay yourself back. I called it the travel blaster. So you book travel and then you blast the charge off of your credit card statement with the travel blaster. Boom. Travel blasted. You get 15 priority pass visits per year, including restaurants, and you can divvy that up between yourself and a guest. If you bring 14 guests in with you, you can use it all at once. You can do one visit each 15 times, or you could do a family of 5 3 times. Divvy it up however you want. All right, so if this is issued by Chase, it's a $300 net annual fee. If it's issued by Citi, it's a $200 annual fee on the net. If it's issued by Capital One, it's a $150 annual fee net. And if it's issued by Wells Fargo, it's an $80 annual fee net. Got that? I have little icons that'll help you remember on the next screen. So here's the poll. On the left, I have the reminders of what you are voting on. I want you to go to menti.com and use code 67309794 to vote on which one of these Dugroz cards you like best. Which issuer do you want to issue the Dugroz Epic card? You can also, if you have a smartphone, scan the QR code that's on the screen right now, and it'll take you to vote. Or if you're a little more old-fashioned, in the description box of this very video, there is a hyperlink that will take you there. So you got 3 ways to go there. You can go to menti.com manually, use the code on the screen. You can use the QR code, or you can use the link in the description box. Please vote on which issuer you would like to issue this card. All right, let's see how the voting is going so far. We're going to share this tab here. And which dream card version do you like best? We've got 1 vote for the Chase version. We've got 1 vote for the Citi version, 2 votes for the Capital One version, and 3 votes for the Wells Fargo version. Make that 4. Oh, 5 for Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is starting to run away with it here. Definitely most people like it with Wells Fargo. So let's go back and just remind people what we're doing here. We're voting on the card. Which issuer do you want to issue the Dugroz Epic card? Who do you think would handle it best? You can also put comments over here. Did you think I did a good job of creating a card? And do you think I did a good job of determining what the net annual fee would be? Sam asked a question. What happens if the bank goes bust while you're out of the country and it becomes an issue getting back to the U.S.? What is the contingency plan? I've got a couple thoughts. First of all, I would always bring cards with you from more than one issuer. So let's say I bring my Wells Fargo Autograph and my Sapphire Preferred. Now, Capital One and Chase would have to both go bust for that to be an issue. It would also have to be a really big, really special kind of bust because the transactions are through MasterCard, Visa, etc. Even when banks have gone belly up in the past here in the United States, it's not like a run on the bank like in Mary Poppins. The government just steps in and takes it over, and the transactions still work. You can still write checks. But Even if it was a real big time, earth shattering, once in every 100 years type bust, just bring more than one card and I think you're okay. That's a good reason to have more than one credit card, by the way. Yuri thinks the Wells Fargo version is great. He's betting on Wells Fargo. Nicholas likes Wells Fargo. By the way, I don't think we've met before, Nicholas. Good to see you on board. Yuri also voted for Wells Fargo. There's the code. Let's see how the voting is going so far. Wells Fargo is in the lead with 5 votes. Chase and Capital One are both tied with 3 votes each. Citi has a mere 1. So apparently most people like the Wells Fargo version of the Dream card. Robert says too many unknowns about the quality of insurance, customer service, rejections while abroad, etc. I get what you're saying, Robert. Now, we do know a little about quality of service because these are all existing issuers. For example, we know Citi's customer service is going to be trash. Of the ones on the screen, I've never experienced Wells Fargo, so I can't really say for sure. Since the dark time, since they got in big trouble, I've never had an issue with Wells Fargo that I needed resolved. Citi's going to be terrible. Capital One will probably be somewhere in the middle. Chad says, that's why I don't screw around sketchy banks. Chase, Amex, Capital One, US Bank for the win. Also Citi. I'm not sure what we're referencing with Citi. Let's move on. I am going to keep this poll open and we'll come back and check on it in a little bit here. So how do I make this card now? So we had a lot of fun, didn't we, folks? Today was great. We're all friends. We're all buddies. We've all invented this card here. That's great. But let's bring it back to the real world for a few seconds here. I don't have one card that does all of these things, but how can I come close? What's the closest I can get at this time? What we're targeting is 3x on travel, transit, dining, and gas, 2x everywhere else, comprehensive insurance, a 1.25 cents per point travel blaster, and 15 priority pass visits per year, including restaurants. Well, look at what I have on the screen here. I have a combination of Wells Fargo and Chase cards. I've got the Sapphire Reserve, the Wells Fargo Autograph, and the Wells Fargo Active Cash. Now, note this is the regular Autograph, not the Autograph Journey, because we want to get transit in the mix here. So, how about those spending targets? Well, on the Sapphire Reserve and the Autograph, both we're getting 3x on travel, transit, and dining. On the Autograph, we're getting it on gas. And then we are also getting 2x everywhere else on the Wells Fargo Active Cash, which could be the Signified Business Cash if you want the business version. You've got access to all the Wells Fargo transfer partners. You've got access to the Sapphire Reserve transfer partners. We're getting 2x everywhere else. Comprehensive insurance. Yep, Chase has already got the best insurance, so just use the Sapphire Reserve as is. We're targeting a 1.25 cents per point travel blaster. Well, we're not going to get that, but we are going to get 1.5 in the portal. Not as good, but kind of sort of close enough, I guess you could say. And then 15 priority pass visits per year. We're going to get unlimited visits, but they're not going to have restaurants, unfortunately, with the Sapphire Reserve. You are going to have access to some Sapphire lounges in places like 2 of the New York airports, in Phoenix, in Hong Kong. Limited. This is probably about as close as it gets. Now, we could make it better, but there's a little bit of unknown variability, and that would be if we add in the Chase Aeroplan card. Then you actually do get your 1.25 cents per point travel blaster. And really, if you're moving your Chase points over at least 50,000 point increments, you're getting 1.35. If you can catch a bonus, it might be as good as 1.625. The reason I didn't include that at first, though, is because as we spoke about during the Dugroz data points segment, we don't know with absolute certainty that the Aeroplan is going to continue pay yourself back into the indefinite future. I hope so. Robert pointed out that the Active Cash has foreign transaction fees. Well, that wouldn't be a very good choice, does it? Does the business version, the Signify Cash, has foreign transaction fees? I actually don't know. As I've said before, in my opinion, Travel is for redeeming, not for earning. So if I had to switch over to um, how much everywhere else travel am I going to be doing abroad? If I had to put it on my Sapphire Reserve and only get 1x, if I went to a grocery store, oh well. I'm buying $30 worth of groceries. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Robert says Wells Fargo customers is on the Citi level. Uh-oh. Capital One is good on the premium cards. Okay, so that elevates Capital One, brings down Wells Fargo. The US Bank Altitude Reserve plus Ritz, I would say. Well, that's an interesting combo. I'm not going to go over it right now, but it's interesting to think about. I've had no problems with Citi's customer service so far in 12 years. Maybe it's because you have the Premier. I've heard that you get better customer service if you have that Ultra Premium card. Nicholas says, Wells Fargo will be big in 2025. I have a feeling, and Capital One will keep going down back to subprime. I will say this, Nicholas, that I think the issuer that will probably come the closest to this Dugroz setup will, in fact, be Wells Fargo. I think they're the most likely to go for this kind of space that's like the Venture X, but better, if I were to just guess. And Sam reminds us to keep smashing that like button. Let's take another look at the poll here and see how it's going. Wells Fargo remains in the lead. That's the version you would most like. So a lot of you have a lot of faith in Wells Fargo. Only one person has faith in Citi, and then Capital One and Chase both coming in somewhere in between. So thank you to the 14 people that voted. It's not too late if you still want to do that. I'll back up here so you can see how you do that. Just use that QR code or go to that website if you want to cast a vote. Remind me at the very end of the live stream, I'll do one more check-in here. I think there might be one more screen here. I don't remember. Oh, I just mentioned that all of this together, this real life setup using these cards is a $345 net annual fee. The two Wells Fargo cards are actually no annual fee cards. The Sapphire Reserve at $250 on the net, and the Aeroplan at $95 brings that to a net real life annual fee of $345. As I went over this, oops, sorry folks. I just talked over all this. What I did was I hit this button that showed the net annual fee of this real life setup. So this real life setup that's on the screen right now has a $345 net annual fee. And as I went through this, I thought to myself, Doug, you're actually kind of fortunate because I already have all of these cards, except instead of the Wells Fargo Active Cash, I have the Signify. With that in mind, maybe I should simplify my setup and just go down to Wells Fargo and Chase only. I would need to keep Amex just to keep points alive. I can just simply keep a Blue Business Plus, but I could dump Capital One, I could dump Citi, and still accomplish all the things that are important to me. Even like when Choice Hotels goes to a year-long or almost year-long booking period in the near future, starting in January, I can accomplish that through Wells Fargo. I would be a little disappointed about, the partnership with Preferred Hotels that Citi launched not being accessible to me. But right now it's so buggy, who knows if that'll ever be a good thing or not. All right, before I move on to the biology break and the community tab questions, I just need to catch up on something. Tampa Travel says audio's good. Glad to hear it. Robert says, I'm actually using a Quicksilver for a foreign catch-all when there's no mobile wallet, no foreign transaction fee, and 1.5. That's not a bad idea. And if you have a premium card to go along with it, you can do your thing where you send it over to that premium card and it becomes points. Philmo says, Wells Fargo wins and Doug worked there. I smell a conspiracy. LOL, kidding, of course. Yes, me working there for 18 months in 2007 and 2008, 16 years later, they have come back to me. Actually, my boys were born while I was working there. That's why I remember so easily. Found out my wife was pregnant sitting in my office at Wells Fargo. Emotional side note. I don't remember growing older. When did they? Yes, totally a conspiracy, Filmo. Totally legitimate that one personal banker who worked there for 18 months, 16 years ago, they're going to pull me back in. Totally. Yuri says, for foreign travel, I'm using the Altitude Reserve backed up by Priceline. I think those are stellar choices. And Nicholas says, Credit One Wander card. I'll have to look into that. I don't actually know anything about it, so let me write that down here. What was the other thing I said I was going to write down? Oh, the Priceline card. Priceline card. Credit One Wander card. King Sam says, so in the future you can enter the code and copy the URL. Was there a previous comment that I missed? I'm not sure what you're referencing. I'm sorry. Nicholas says, the Credit One Wander card has 5x on travel, 5x on gas, 5x on restaurants, and if you book on Priceline, you get 10x on hotels and car rental, but it has a $95 annual fee. Is it all cash back? Altitude Reserve plus CSR or Ritz has all of this. Agree, and I do have those already. It's just you don't get any transferable currencies, of course, with US Bank. King Sam says, Niche, no, that bank is taboo. Oh, Nicholas, no, that bank is taboo. Nicholas says, I know, but the card is amazing. I know the bank sucks. Okay, as long as you can admit it. Happy Gilmore reference. All right. We are ready for the biology break. So what I do is I take an intermission here. And as a part of that intermission, you just stare at the wall. If you do happen to get a advertisement, please just watch it for at least 30 seconds. That helps out the channel. So all 49 of you, please stay on board. We've got some question and answer coming up, and I will be back in about 90 seconds. Here we go. All right, we back. Cancel the music. 46 people stayed on board. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. All right, catching up on comments here. Chad Pennycuff says, I stick to the Capital One Duo for foreign travel. U.S. Bank can't use real-time rewards on foreign travel transactions, but you can still earn the points. If I had a Capital One saver, if they would let me get one, then I would also. I'm to go get a Diet Mountain Dew during the biology breaks. Yuri says, redeem with real-time reward on U.S. transactions. I do it via WN. I don't know what WN is. It's a statement credit, but the bank is subprime. Okay. That was referring to that Wander card. All right. Next up. So what do we do on the weekends? Well, we look at pictures. But more than that, we have a community tab every Friday, somewhere around 5 to 7 p.m. You put your questions and I answer them. And that's what I'm going to do right now. WN is Southwest. That's a strange abbreviation. Should be SW, but that's okay. Here's the picture. So every Friday, I'm going to post a picture. You're supposed to guess where the picture was taken, but you can also ask me anything. So let's get into it right now. If you posted a question before the weekend started, I left my door open. Let me take care of that. I will read them now. Every once in a while, YouTube drops a comment into like a, it has to be an approved comment, like it gets censored and I have to go in and manually upload it. So if that happens, I apologize. All right. This first question comes from Ian K, who is on board right now. I would love a review of your year in points and miles, spend, miles earned, and any kind of stats like that. Good news. I'm planning to do that, Ian. It's in the plans, probably after New Year's. I do have a reminder on my phone sometime between now and New Year's Eve to go in and log all my points so I can see what they are. Because there are some websites that will show you like how many points you've earned so far this year, but then come January 1st, it disappears. And I don't want that. That makes it a lot harder. It's their ITA code. Every flight number starts with WN. Okay, I gotcha. Thank you. Next up is John's Credit and Travel says, I'll catch the replay heading to another Christmas in the morning. No problem. LH Finances says this. Hi, Dugroz. What's a unique credit card or multiplier that you would add to a card? And also says the photo is the Illinois Fallen Firefighter Memorial and Medal of Honor ceremony. So ding, 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 ding. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. LH Finances gets 2,000 Dugroz points to add to his bank. Those are not transferable to the Dugroz Epic card, though. That's a whole separate currency. It's sort of like the Altitude Reserve. Can't be combined with the Altitude Connect. Dugroz points given during a live stream cannot be combined with the Dugroz Epic card. But LH Finances did guess the picture correctly. So when I went to Springfield, Illinois in October, it's my fall rip trip, just outside the state capitol, there's this monument. It's kind of hard to see here. I apologize. In the picture, there's like statues of firefighters on top of a chimney. I think this one's holding a baby. I think this one's climbing a ladder. This one's holding a hose. So it's in honor of, well, certainly fallen firefighters, but I think it also just honors firefighters in general. Back to the question that LH Finances asked, what's a unique credit or multiplier you would add to a card? In terms of a multiplier, I would like to see a multiplier on health related things. And I don't mean like gyms and fitness clubs. I'm talking doctor's bills and that kind of stuff. So, for example, the US Bank State Farm business card lets you earn 3% cash back on premiums paid for insurance, and that could be health insurance, whatever. I've used it to pay my own State Farm bill in the past. I've used it to pay an Aflac bill in the past. Aflac, and you get 3% cash back on that, which is okay, but it's also capped at $4,000 worth of insurance premiums a year. Obviously, I know they probably couldn't do uncapped insurance premiums because then some business owner would get a hold of it and use it to pay their entire company's insurance bill of like $250,000 once a year, which they don't want done. So there'd have to be some sort of cap. But much like the Chase Inc. Cash has a $25,000 cap on office supplies. You could do something along those lines. And then I would like it to also include actual doctor's bills. So I have a few doctor's offices. My wife goes to a doctor that's just up the road where I just swing by and pay it with tap to pay. I'll put my thumb on the button, get my altitude reserve 3x. But otherwise, if that's not an option, most places don't have Apple Pay. I end up having to just use a 2x everywhere card, like the aforementioned Signify or the Venture X or something like that. So I think if some card offered 3x on medical bills, like doctor's offices and insurance premiums, you could cap the insurance premiums part. That would be pretty boss. If it was on one of the rotating category cards, that would be pretty cool. I know they've done pharmacies during first quarter before because that's when a lot of people are still paying their co-pays and deductibles for pharmacy, but I would love to see the Chase Freedom Flex have 5x rotating category on medical bills too. Good question. Thank you, LH Finances. Sleepy Rod, Dugroz Diehard, asked this question. Are any of the Hilton credit cards worth it after the sub? Yeah, I think they are. So for me, I really like corn, but also I have the Hilton Surpass card, and mainly the reason is to get Hilton Gold status. I know it's annoying to have to buy gift cards if you're not actually going to Hilton's, but I think it's less bad than it was. Now we've kind of figured out that you need to run it as a credit card. Don't tell them you're using a gift card, so it doesn't get that temporary hold on. I think we're better off. If you're unsure what I'm talking about, go watch last week's live stream. We discussed some things about how Hilton gift cards work. So I would get the Hilton Surpass because I really like Hilton's. It does earn Hilton Points. So like if you want to earn 6x on grocery, which isn't amazing, that's the equivalent of like 3% cash back. You could buy the points, but it is something. And you can spend your way to a free night certificate every year, and you get automatic Hilton Gold. So you're going to get either a breakfast credit, or internationally you're going to get free breakfast. You're going to definitely have that gold status. A little more likely to get an upgrade. You feel pretty safe with it in that regard. So yes, I think for average Joe like me, the Surpass card is worth keeping after the sub. Also, my sister has the Surpass, and she's never going to be a multi-card user. In fact, it took some convincing just to tell her to get one. But the fact that it gets 6x on gas and groceries, and she likes staying at DoubleTrees and Hilton Garden Inns and that kind of stuff, it's a good fit for her too. All right. Here's some comments in the chat. Nicholas says, I just got the one key card from Wells Fargo. How long do you have to wait to apply for another card from them since you worked for Wells Fargo? I didn't know jack squat about credit cards when I used to work for them. Again, that was 16 years ago, and I just got into points and miles 5.5 years ago. I just like opened savings accounts and that kind of stuff with permission of the customer. I can tell you a story someday about the one time that I kind of sort of got in trouble for the whole thing that Wells Fargo tended to get in trouble for. It was a big time gray area where I think I did the right thing, but I still got yelled at. I can also tell you a story about the time someone blatantly cheated and got caught. Not me, a different employee. But that's a story for another day. I believe 30 days, because I know some people have applied for like the Signify Business Way 30 days and then applied for another card, but don't quote me on that. Yuri says you don't need to wait. It's a co-branded card, so you can do it 3 days later. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but Yuri knows this kind of stuff, so he's almost certainly right. Robert says that 3x reward on foreign transactions of the coming premium Alaska card is unique. Yeah, that's true. So that Alaska premium card that's coming down the road is supposed to get 3 points per dollar, and that's our Alaska points, which are darn valuable. I'd say they're worth at least 2 cents each. So that's kind of like 6% cash back on anything foreign. So I'm thinking like, what's something I can buy from overseas? Like if I go to the English or French version of Amazon, can I buy something there and have it charged in either euros or pounds and get that? Chad says, Dugroz rocking the antique iPhone with a thumb button. I love my thumb button, and I'll be very disappointed when they take that away when I upgrade, because I'll have to do the stare at your phone thing. Maybe I'll end up loving it. I don't know. Have I ever had the Apple Card? Asked Dave W. I've definitely had no regrets with that one. I have not had the Apple Card, and I probably don't buy enough Apple stuff for it to matter. I use an iPhone, I use a MacBook, but it's not like I'm, one of those Apple fanboys who's like, "Oh," slobbering all over it. Back to the community tab questions. Okay. Nick asked this question, Nick1828. I don't know if this is the same Nick that's on board or not. Probably not. What value, if any, do you add for cards insurance? I've only got one premium card, the CSR, which we get more value out of than we pay the annual fee for. But as a numbers guy, I like to be able to put some sort of value on everything. Well, your timing is awfully good there, Nick, because didn't I, in fact, talk about that in this particular live stream right here, right now? I did, and I valued it at, let's big an eyes, $100. So I think pretty good insurance is worth $100. There was some old sketch comedy where somebody's talking about cereal and asks, what do you think of this cereal? And they say, it's pretty good. Might have been Kids in the Hall or something like that. If you know what I'm referencing, let me know. I know that's a super obscure reference. Yeah, so $100. I would say, Nick, I value good quality insurance at $100. That's totally pulled out of my hiney, but there it is. You could also value it at $400 because I got an annual plan once with Allianz, and they charged me $400 for the family for the entire year, which is now up to like $600. Although that's a little more comprehensive, so that's not necessarily fair. Manuel says, I put my name on the wait list for the Alaska card. I did too. 500 free points. Tampa says the active cash has foreign transaction fees. I'm wondering if Tampa is watching this a little behind schedule because there's been a couple comments that seemed like something I talked about 20 minutes ago. Chad says, I dropped the Apple Card when I realized it had zero insurance, no return protection, no travel, nothing. Holy cow. Like, you get better protection using like a Hilton Surpass to buy an Apple product than you do using the Apple Card to buy the Apple product. Huh. Nicholas, how do I keep saying Nicole? I know why I'm saying it. Nicholas says, Apple Card is a good 2% card. I'm kind of curious how it's going to look after Chase takes it over. Sean Olaf, I don't think we've met before. Sean, good to see you here. My face is not on the screen. There we go. I've gotten the autograph and then the bilt 8 days later. So you don't have to wait a month. They did financial review, though, to make it happen. The limits they gave me on each was pretty high. Glad to see you on board, Sean. Good to meet you. If you've been lurking for a while, I'm happy that you're commenting. Thank you for doing so. Chad Petticuff says, if Apple Card got UR points, then I'm all in. Yeah, that would be a game changer, wouldn't it? Next question from the community tab. So again, just to clarify, every Friday somewhere around 7 p.m., find a community tab question, community tab post, see the picture. You can guess the picture or you can ask me anything, and I'll read it on this very Saturday live stream. PDX Beach. PDX Beach was on board earlier because I recognized the thumbnail, but it shows as a different username on here. So if you're on here, please speak up. PDX Beach says, I'd really like to know more about Air Canada and their family pooling, if anyone has that capability activated. Also interested in hearing about how you pool or manage points from multiple cards. Not all programs are created equal. Trying to figure out how to pool Chase business from player 2 with my UR points. All right, so we've got almost like a couple different questions in there. First of all, as it relates to Air Canada and their points pooling, I have no idea, PDX Beach. I'm so sorry. I think I maybe set it up, but then never actually used it. And the logic there is with the Aeroplan Pay Yourself Back card, you are only allowed to pay yourself back if it is points that came from Chase points that you transferred over or points earned on the card. Now, obviously, if you take a flight here and there, they're not going to make anything of it. But if I pooled a bunch of my wife's Chase points into her Aeroplan account and then moved it into my Aeroplan account, it might be frowned upon for Pay Yourself Back. And thus far, Pay Yourself Back is the only thing that I have used my Aeroplan points for. I've never actually used Aeroplans to book a flight, so I can't speak to that. If anyone on board knows the pros and cons of Aeroplan point pooling, feel free to speak up. But I can speak to how you do it with Chase. Chase is really easy, and you can actually get around it. So, like, I move my wife's points to my wife's Ultimate Rewards to my Ultimate Rewards, and then use those to move over to Aeroplan. So the way Chase does it is you're allowed to share within your household. Now, I actually have my dad set up as someone that can share with me and my wife both. My wife is obviously part of my household. My dad lives in the same town as me, has the same zip code, same last name. So I guess Chase thought probably close enough. You used to be able to do the setup online. Now you have to call. So the very first time you want to do it, let's say it was you and player two. You and player two would have to call in together. I think you specifically mentioned the word wife in here. No, it just says player two. I apologize. You and player two would have to call in together, and player two would have to give permission to add your card onto their account for something that can be transferred to. So, like, I'll use myself as an example. My wife and I would have to call in together, and my wife, Mrs. Dugroz, would say to the representative, I want my husband's Sapphire card to appear on my account as something I can transfer to. And after you do it the first time, you might have to transfer 1,000 points on the phone call. I don't remember. It'll stick around. So now if my wife logs into her Chase account, she has the option to transfer from one card to any of her cards or to my Sapphire Reserve card. And it's super easy to do. You can do it online. It does have to be increments of $1,000. So it's super easy with Chase. Now, my opinion is every currency, whether it's a card's proprietary currency or a hotel or airline, should allow points sharing. So like Hilton, good job, Hilton. Wells Fargo, good job. Chase, good job. Amex, bad job. Boo. Amex does not let you move Amex points from player two to player one. Citi, you can, but they expire after 90 days and you have to call. So mostly boo there. Capital One, you have to call every time, but there's no limit. So meh, I'll give them a meh. Wyndham doesn't let you share points. Boo. So Hyatt, you have to fill out a paper form, but you can do it. So let's see. Catching up on things. Dave W says, I like because it's a flat cashback card at 2% and can direct deposit the cash to whatever bank, referring to the Apple Pay card. Chad says, in regard to that, the US Bank Altitude Reserve 3X Apple Pay can cash out as well. Once it's cashed, you can move it anywhere. Unfortunately, the US Bank Altitude Reserve, at least as of now, is closed to new applicants. If it's still closed to new applicants come February 1st, then we know we've got a problem on our hands. Chad says, I sent UR points to player two, and then player two transferred to Aeroplan with a 10% and 20% bonus. Awesome. PDX, does player two have the Premier? That's a good question. And Manuel Jimenez says, Marriott lets you share points. I keep getting a stupid call from Livermore, Iowa, and I know it's a solicitor. So if you want to bother the solicitor, call this number that's showing on the screen right now. Tell them to quit bothering Dugroz. And since my dad's in a rehab facility, I keep feeling like, well, I have to answer any call that's from Iowa just in case someone calling about him. All right, so that's it. We are done with the community tab questions. Like I said, hopefully nobody's questions got missed, but that is it in terms of what made it through the YouTube filters. If there's any others, I apologize. Before we wrap this up, I said, remind me to come back to a couple things, and I don't remember what those things were. So if anybody knows what I'm supposed to come back to, light bulbs, light on my neck, let me know. Otherwise, I would say please still click the thumbs up button because that drives people to this channel and more people will see the video after the fact. And if you want to drop a super chat or super sticker, even a 99-cent super sticker is appreciated. Now's your last chance. I'm going to wrap it up in 2 or 3 minutes, but I do want to go back through. Oh, yes, Robert, thank you for reminding me. Check the poll. There we go. Okay. Which dream card do you like best? Wells Fargo is winning with 9. Capital One and Chase are still tied at 3. And Citi is still tied at 1. So check the description box if you want to participate in the poll. It actually says you either have to leave it open for like 24 hours or 3 days or 7 days. And I said I'll leave it open for 3 days. So if you're watching this after the fact, anytime between now and Sunday, Monday, like Tuesday afternoon, you can still vote in the poll as well. So by all means, feel free to participate. Thank you so much, Robert, for reminding me of that. Filmo wants more golden ponies. What am I supposed to do? Just pull it out and hold up the card? Is that what Filmo wants me to do? Filmo probably fell asleep during this live stream, so unless he goes back and watches it later, he won't see this. I need to tell some sort of inside joke or something about Filmo, but I've only met him once in person, so I don't really have any. Here we go. Golden ponies, golden ponies. Like Epona from Legend of Zelda. Ooh, I was gonna say I almost showed my number, but fortunately I've already taped over this one. So there they are. That's what it looks like. Member 6 2007. That's when I worked there. So there's the Wells Fargo card. It is actually, I would say, probably the most attractive looking card I own. I know they're supposed to be changing the card art in the near future. 1x on everything. Not very exciting, but it does get you 1.5 in their portal. And that's it. Sam K reminds everyone to smash the like button, and let's just review who helped out the channel today. Chad Pennycuff dropped a super chat of $10.02. Ali $1.99. Sam K £5, and then another £2, bringing it up to £7. Dave W 99-cent super sticker. Tom Graber $5. Robert Jarrell $1.99, and then TH $5. So thank you to each of you who did that. Filmo awakes from slumber. Ah, glorious. What's happening? Did someone say my name? Thank you all for joining in today. I really appreciate it. And as always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Happy New Year.